Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sharing Group. I am so excited, y'all. I am on cloud nine today. I'm so excited about our next guest. Today's lesson of A Course in Miracles is lesson 89, and we are still in the review period. The first idea for today is I am entitled to miracles. I am entitled to miracles. And the second lesson for today is let miracles replace all grievances. Let miracles replace all grievances. And we are in great company, y'all. We are in great company right now as we engage with our next guest, who is a physical demonstration of our entitlement to miracles. Beverly Ketchum, a certified community-based doula and Reiki Master, had 2 near-death experiences and saw 5 beings of light during her experience. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Beverly, for joining the show today.
Loretta, thank you. I am so excited to be here, and it's been such a pleasure to see all your videos and everybody else that has like-minded experiences, and I appreciate you allowing me to share them.
Of course. I'm just excited that you're here, of course. So did you want to start with your first near-death experience?
Sure, absolutely. That was many years ago in the 80s. So for
Okay.
me, the reason I'm a doula is because I had a lot of experience with miscarriages. And I think it's very important to provide support for moms, especially during that time with miscarriages. And right now I'm training to become a stillbirth doula. So it's really in my heart and it's my passion. So in this particular near-death experience, it wasn't very long and it wasn't very intense. It was just interesting because I didn't understand what it was at the time. I just remember the night it happened, I was in, a lot of pain. And when I arrived at the hospital in the emergency room, I blacked out because I ended up hemorrhaging pretty bad, where I lost consciousness. But during that time of losing my consciousness, I floated above which I perceived was the bed, not realizing it was me on the table, but seeing just 2 people in the room. And really, it's funny that I think about it now, but there's just the most silliest things you try to, think in your mind about what's going on and you focus in on those. I think it's just because you're really having a hard time understanding it. And my thing was the top of this person's head, which I then found out was the doctor later, was bald. And I don't know why that was so like, wow, that's, he's tall and he's bald. And then he had this watch while he was helping me, with IVs and blood transfusions. And just thinking that watch is really glistening and it's just beautiful. So that was 2 really incredible things. The other thing that I found fascinating was the nurse was just saying, we're going to lose her. And I didn't realize it was me that we were going to lose. And the doctor said, basically, not on his watch, we're not going to do that today for her. And so I just blacked out after that. So it was a very simple but very profound like vision up above my body. So fast forward to me recovering in the postpartum area, and I I woke up very groggy because I had lost a lot of blood.
Yeah.
To a foot like on the railing. Back then in the 80s, they had these metal railings, not the nice plastic ones that you could push the buttons. And his foot was on the railing, he was a really large man, and he had his head slumped over, kind of sleeping. He was actually sleeping. There was that watch. And I went, wow, that must be the doctor. And it was just, there's the bald head. Everything kind of come together. But for me, when he like woke up, he was looking at me and I said, you were in the room with me. And it was like, he had this conversation, but it was so much more about my health. He didn't dismiss it, but he says, that's very interesting. Because I said, and he said, how do you know that? And I said, well, you're the one wearing the watch. and I lost a lot of blood. That's why, you're here. And but it was so beautiful. So
Wow.
he's still in practice, and it's cute because my daughter had a birth not too long ago with him,
Oh,
and he helped catch my second child. So that's how we met, but it was just very simple, really short. And I just never spoke about it until recently. And I know my family, some of them know about it, but I just didn't understand. Like, what was that all about? Was I dreaming?
yeah.
It just didn't feel like a dream though.
Yeah.
Many
Thank you for
coincidences.
sharing that.
Mhm.
And I'm going to let you share your second NDE, but what you talked about is so indicative of the near-death experience. You're
Mm.
not dreaming, as you know.
Mhm.
To the soul, everything is so interesting. Um, I interviewed another NDEer, Dennis Bullock, and he was saying the faucet at the hospital, the water was dripping. And he was just
Oh,
so fascinated. He was like,
yes.
water, water, to the soul. It's like, so you were saying, like, you noticed the watch, and that was a big deal.
Yeah.
The bald head, that was a big deal. So
Mhm.
it just made me think of that. That is so cool.
Yes. And
Yeah,
it's almost like you're hypersensitive to
yeah.
sound, but you don't feel like you do here on earth, and that's what's so beautiful. At that time I didn't understand it, but yeah, my second one is a little different.
Okay, let's
um,
go into your second one.
well, my second one's just to kind of get an idea. For me, it's kind of hard to explain. So things that I experienced during the near death experience, which I like to say near death transition, because I kind of transitioned through things, and I did experience, obviously, were like colors that were so vibrant that, Loretta, you can't describe how beautiful. You want to cry. They're so beautiful.
Uh,
Feelings that you feel are everything rolled into one, but the most incredible love and comfort and peace. There's also no time that passes. It sounds really strange, but these are things that I really tried to figure out after my near death experience.
mhm.
So I don't think I'm going to do it justice, but for me, it was just oneness, peacefulness, joy, bliss. Um, yeah. And so, anyways, that's kind of what I like to start off with, because it is very hard to explain. And
Yeah.
not that I don't remember, it's just the music. I mean, there
Yeah.
was music that's just, it's just incredible. So, anyways, getting to the actual day, it was in 2020, right before COVID, and it
Okay.
was on Women's Day, woohoo, which I celebrate every year, both women and my experience, which I feel I'm grateful that I had. I know it sounds silly, but it's made me just love life more. So
Yeah.
I I was asked by my daughter and my son-in-law to take pictures for them. And it was a beautiful California sunny day. And they're realtors, so they wanted outdoor naturey kind of pictures. I'm like, yay, okay, I can do that because I do birth photography too. So I'm all excited. And I'm like in my closet trying to pick out a shirt. And I realize that my favorite shirt, and I love this color, this magenta color. I'll put my baseball. It's like a baseball shirt with gray sleeves and the magenta, and it's going to be comfy. And I have my jeans on and my tennis shoes on. I'm ready. So I kiss my husband goodbye, and he always tells me, "Drive safe." I said, "Okay." So I take off. A few minutes away. It's not very far, just
Wow.
like not even half a mile away from my home. I proceed onto her main street where her house is, and it's a very busy street that goes into the main highway. And people, from what I understood, one of the persons that hit me, because I got hit by two people, was going at about 55. So as I'm proceeding down the street, I see my daughter and I wave to her, because she's getting her makeup out of her car to get ready. And from there, everything happened so fast and so fast at first, from the accident, the sounds, the noises, and then everything slowed down. So what ended up happening was I got hit from behind, I spun around, and then I got hit on the side again pretty hard. And my head, I guess, hit the windshield. But as I spun around, I saw like mist, like white mist, which I perceived was the airbags,
Mhm.
deflating. And after that, as I spun around, I realize I'm kind of moving, like not in the car, but like up above the car. And I see like um, I have this beautiful evil eye that's a heart that my girlfriend gave me from Turkey. And I'm looking at it as I'm going up and up and up, realizing what is going on. It was just so strange, but it was a very unusual feeling. It wasn't as if like some people, I think they go through a tunnel. That wasn't my experience at all. I was mostly hovering, and my body was more like a spirit as it was hovering over the car. And I realized as I'm looking down, trying to figure out again, like what is this? What's going on? Was this person in a car kind of slumped over, and this other person running to her car. And as I'm hovering up, I'm realizing that magenta shirt means something to me. What does that mean? Who is that person? You just constantly, these things run through your mind, and you're just going, it's very confusing at first. But I started connecting. Oh, that's me. That's my daughter. And when I started thinking that, it didn't frighten me. It didn't make me feel like, oh my gosh, I was in an accident. It almost was like, oh, okay, it's another day, which is so interesting to me. So as I'm realizing it's me, I literally go all the way into like some other type of dimension. And the dimension was more of, you could say heaven or whatever, however you believe. I was raised as a Catholic, so I thought it was heaven. Now I think it's more than that. It's just different layers. And for me, I went into this dimension where as I'm approaching it, I'm realizing, okay, there's something going on. And for me, it felt like a homecoming. Like, this is the best party. And why is it for me? I'm coming home. Okay, fine. This is for me. And I really love it. And it was the most kind of like celebration. Like I just in my mind, I felt like, oh, we're coming home, we're doing something. And it felt wonderful. And as I was thinking that, I'm kind of looking down at myself and I'm realizing I'm not myself. I don't have a body. I don't relate to this at all, but I'm a being, I'm a spirit. And as I'm thinking that, I'm not going to cry because that really brings me joy. The feeling I felt, Loretta, was the most incredible love that you could ever feel. Like anything you've ever done in your life, you were forgiven. And these people here, as I'm thinking this and I'm coming to this homecoming, I realized how important this message is, that I am comfort, I am love, I am who I am. I'm my true authentic self at this time. And I look up and there's 5 beings, and they're kind of like an apex where it's like kind of like this, like a round type of apex. And beyond them are just rays of colors just shooting out that are streams of oranges, golds, yellows, whites that are not like whites here, just beautiful colors. And they're just hovering like off in the distance. As I'm looking at them, they're literally kind of like tilting their head, and they're talking to me telepathically in a way that's very comforting. You're home basically. And some are taller, some are shorter, but they're very, very massive. Wow. Some to me look like, I know it sounds weird because I didn't really believe in aliens too much, but now I do. Extraterrestrial, but they were beautiful, and you couldn't tell if they were male or if they were female. They had, for me, and what I saw was these gowns, these beautiful gowns. Some of them had them like up above, like a hood a little bit, but they were, I can't describe the color, more creamy, but then they had these gold threads that went through them, and they looked important. They were like, whoa, these are my people, but they look important. This is my tribe.
Yeah.
there's some, they're not like me.
Wow.
So that was beautiful seeing that. And for me, I just felt like, okay, I want to get closer. I want to go where they are. I want to be with them. And as I was thinking that, I know that I could feel the presence the whole time, which kind of freaked me out a little bit, but not like in a scary way. It just was like, oh, I'm noticing somebody to my right. And a presence that was very large, male, female, I don't know, either or, but the voice was very, not serious, but not assertive, but just, it had meaning to me. And when it was talking to me, it was basically saying, you're here. This is what we honor you, basically. You're coming home, but this is not your time. You're not. And I'm thinking to myself, why can't I stay? Like, what's the deal here? And it you kind of argue a little bit. I mean, I'm not a very argumentative person. I'm very open, and if I want to say something, I'll say something. But I was like, no, I'm staying. Like, no, this is not a choice. And basically, the being said, no, you're basically not. What And my thought was, oh, I have family. As soon as I thought about my family, it was, I mean, in that extent. Before, when I saw my daughter, it was more like, oh yeah, I have family. And it wasn't a choice. I could not stay. I was told, basically you're out of here. And when I thought about family, I remember, um, it was so weird. It was like, it was a tunnel that I was, remember those, or you probably have been in those water slides that you go
Yeah.
through?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that. And it was like sparks of colors and swishing, but a very, very, amazing sound. But prior to that, I did want to say, while I was there, when I was being told I couldn't stay, I was fascinated with the idea of 360. Like, what is this? I could see beyond which I believe they're my guides now, my angels in my family. 360 all over the place. Like, that was so fascinating to me. And it was such a beautiful feeling. But again, I couldn't stay. And I'm just like, this is just such a cool place. I want to stay. And I couldn't. So when I was going back, I did go through a specific tunnel, which, like I said, was not water, but it was like you could hear like shh, like you just. I know it sounds strange. I'm trying to describe it. It was
Almost like
literally,
the sound of maybe the soul moving fast back to the
well,
city, you think?
oh, definitely. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. It was so fast. It was like you're here one moment and then you're through a tunnel the next moment. And when I did approach my body, I remember seeing my body going, whoa. It was such a weird feeling. When I went back in my soul, I heard like a pop,
Mhm.
which was really strange to me, but it felt very uh, like, wow, what is this now? But then right when I got back into my body, the pain that I experienced was excruciating. While I was above in the next layer of dimension, veil, whatever you call it, was very, I felt great. I didn't feel
Yeah.
any pain at all. But when I came back, I literally, oh, I was like, I don't want to be here. This is not fair. And I remember the first thing I couldn't really see when I first came back.
Yeah.
Apparently, I was on the asphalt and my daughter had my head in her hand and she was leaning over me, but I couldn't see her very well. It was very murky. I couldn't hear her. I could hear her sobbing, like if you were underwater, that's what it
Yeah.
sounded like.
Yeah.
So it was very murky, and I could see like her expression on her face, but I couldn't see her beautiful blue eyes, and I could see her hair kind of hanging over, but nothing detailed because my vision was because I had a pretty significant head injury, so my vision just wasn't coming back, and I almost felt kind of like when I don't know if you've ever passed out or anything, but that kind of like, oh, it's like a pinhole kind of thing. So I did not see her very well, but I did see the anguish in her face, and that made me very sad besides being in pain. And then beyond her, again, there's this beautiful light, this gold, white, just not aura, but just bright light. And in front and behind my daughter, there was the being that I saw from above. And I, again, they weren't female or male, but they were absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful skin. It wasn't like a dark skin. It wasn't a light skin. It was just beautiful. It was very beautiful skin, and the eyes were gorgeous, and bald. It was really weird. They were completely bald, and they were looking at me, and they were telling me, but I could see that being very well, but I couldn't see my daughter. So I'm
Wow.
thinking, what is this? But they kept telling me, you're going to be fine. Try and breathe. You're going to be fine telepathically. So again, my son-in-law is, I guess, back here while I'm on the ground too, telling me to breathe because I kind of heard him a little bit underwater. But when the being told me, it was more clear, and it was through my mind, which, it wasn't like through his mouth. It was through his mind that went into my mind. So I knocked out again because of the pain and because of the severe injuries. For me, um, I had a heart contusion. So if my daughter wouldn't have pulled me out of the car, my ribs collapsed on my heart. They fractured, my sternum fractured.
Mm.
I really probably wouldn't be here.
Wow.
But yeah, so I guess by then, I don't know what happened. I know that they put me in an ambulance and took me to one of the trauma centers nearby. So,
Wow. What an incredible layered experience. You're right. That second NDE was incredible.
mhm.
Did the and thank you for sharing that.
You're
Did the
welcome.
you said you kind of had that feeling that they were extraterrestrial. Did they have any? I know you said they were bald. Did they have any other physical features that struck you?
Well, I think the features were not like ours, like in depth. Like you have a beautiful nose and you have that beautiful mouth and those, but the eyes were the only thing that really were the feature that I zoomed in on. I didn't really notice. I mean, I'm sure they had a mouth. I didn't see anything, but it was more of an expression, is how I want to put it. And their clothes are what was really kind of interesting to me. And I don't know why, but and I can't remember the name. Of course, I should have asked my daughter the name before I started talking to you today. But there's these specific shirts that people wear in Mexico, and they're those beautiful embroidery, especially the men. But this one had gold threads through it. I don't know what the deal was with the gold threads, but the embroidery, it was so that, and I didn't see their hands, but mainly their face. And the one beings from above were so far away, but I could tell, that they weren't male, they weren't female, but they definitely weren't human. Some of them, one of them looked similar to a family member, but I just couldn't decipher on it. It was just, they just looked friendly, and I just really wanted to go hang out with them and just be with them. I really, really wanted to stay.
I love
So,
that, and you've told me, Beverly, that that I think you said your niece found out that you all have a Pleiadian connection.
oh, yeah,
And,
that's so interesting. So, after my experience in the hospital, and it's actually my grandchild, my
oh,
eldest
okay,
grandchild,
okay,
yeah, their name is Jules, and they're very much into stuff like that, which I thought, oh, that's cool, but I didn't really get into it.
yeah,
Um, but after my experience, while I came home to recover, it took me months to recover. Couldn't walk, couldn't really talk. I mean, I would talk, but it was hard to. I had repetitive um, words, like words of knowledge, words of knowing. Even in the
mhm.
hospital, I had them where somebody couldn't find something, and I would tell the nurse, please, this word's going to keep, it's in the side pocket, whatever, just get it. And things would come about. But for this particular thing about the extraterrestrial, this word, when I got home, would not stop in my mind. I'd wake up to the word Palladians. I'd go to sleep to it. And I didn't even know how to spell it, Loretta.
Mm.
So I thought, okay, I know my grandchild knows this because they're into this kind of stuff.
Mm.
My whole family on the Costa Rican side, they're very much into it, which is fun because
Mhm.
I never was. And I mean, I was to a degree, but now I really am. But I still have a thing about not researching it because I think, I'm still discovering things. Anyways, make a long story short, I called my grandchild and they said, oh, Graham's, it's a sister family or something, and that's a very special high vibrational family. And I think you said the same thing. And I
Yes.
went, oh, she goes, I've often thought we were from them. I'm like, okay, that makes total sense then. So things like that would happen, those experiences where I get words of knowledge and then, or just repetitive stuff, and then it would come true. And I kind of had to shut it down, Loretta, for a while, and I still
Wow.
kind of do because it gets a little overwhelming
Gotcha.
sometimes.
Do you mean the visions and
Yeah.
everything? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
This girl, the Pleiadian thing, the extraterrestrial thing is so fascinating to me. And yes, Pleiadians are very high vibrational beings. I feel like I heard that they were a part of the original,
That's what,
being
mm-hmm.
around. So that's fascinating. And when you're in a space where you're ready to learn more, it
Yeah.
is a beautiful connection. Okay, Beverly, you have to tell us about the music that you
Oh,
received during your
it's
experience.
undescribable. The music was, it was so fascinating too, because the nurses, while I was in trauma, or excuse me, while I was at my main hospital, they would put on music just because they knew like this is very healing. Now the beds, they have music you could put on animal sounds. It was so healing. So they had no idea those nurses were so amazing. But the music was.
So when you encountered the beings, you said
Mhm,
heard, right?
mhm.
Mm.
When I heard the music, it was more so, like I said, a coming home. Uh, it felt like you could feel the vibration through your whole body, but it was the most gorgeous kind of. There was flutes and harps, and it's like, it sounds corny, but it's very true. And the fact that I loved it so much, I ended up buying a handmade wooden flute, which doesn't even compare to the music, my experience, but it made me want to play.
Mm.
And I think that's so fascinating because you come back with these. I'm sure you've always had these
Yeah.
gifts, but you end up being more inclined to seek them out. But the music was incredible, and every night, my poor husband, I try to find that music, and
Yeah.
he's kind of got into it too, but it was more. Then it started becoming piano music to me, but it was mostly like harps and flutes that were just like soft, and it made you feel calm. Yeah, so
Thank you for sharing that.
you're welcome.
The guest that I just had on, and it's so funny how things are synchronistic. I'll have a guest, and then the next guest is the
Oh
same
yeah.
thing. When during her near experience, she was a part of a choir.
Oh,
Yeah, she was like in an auditorium, and at the stage,
oh, how
there were
beautiful.
being singing. And she was like, there was hundreds of beings. So I
Mhm.
just love how music has, it's such a significant experience. It's such a significant component of the
Absolutely.
NDE experience. Tell us, okay, take us back to the time you had in the hospital, because
Mhm.
that was some fact. You said, I remember you just said on here that you were able to speak like a different language. One of your rooms needed. I talk about that. That's fascinating to me.
Right. Well, there was two things, which is so cute. I don't know why I remember the nurse's name, Connie. But she was a kick. She thought I was hilarious because I would try really hard to do certain things with my body that I couldn't. And while she was sitting next to me, one particular incident was an elderly woman. So I had a neck brace on because I did have like back injuries and stuff. So I couldn't see beyond, like, I couldn't even see my toes. I could just see like my chest because I was flat. They kind of propped me up later on, but at the very beginning, this is when a lot of the things kind of flooded. When I started waking up, and I asked them, Loretta, I told them I don't want any morphine. It's freaking me out. I don't like that feeling. So they
Yeah.
were giving me other medications that weren't causing me to just feel funny. So for the pain, so I really was in a lot of pain. But again, there was some knowing
Yeah.
messages that came through, and it was about a woman's purse and the side pocket, and I'm just like, I don't know what this means. It finally connected where Connie was talking to me, and the elderly woman across from me said,
Mhm.
I really want my phone to talk to my family. She was really upset, and I told Connie, I said, I don't know if this has any meaning, but have you looked in her purse in the side pocket on the right hand side? um, there's only one pocket. And she said, I've already looked there, Beverly. It's not there. And so I said, just please do it. Just do it because it's going to drive me crazy laying here. So she did. There was like an extra zipper and she opened it up and there was the phone. So
Wow.
that was, I mean, it's so silly, right? But it was something significant to that woman that meant a lot.
Absolutely.
And she told
Absolutely.
me, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. And then across from me, and it's so funny because I could barely talk, but it was really important to get these messages out, which was so funny. So the woman across or next to her apparently was a woman that had brain cancer, and she didn't speak English. She spoke Spanish. I know very little Spanish. I knew the color red, but she kept saying that she doesn't feel well in Spanish. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I say? So I told her in Spanish, which I couldn't do it now, that you need
Mhm.
to press the red button for the nurse. And she said, thank you to me. And the nurse came quickly and then they rushed her out. So she never came back. But it was just one of those things where is this coming? It was so bizarre.
You told her that in Spanish. You told her that in
I don't
that.
know how to say it now.
Wow.
I have
Wow.
a funny thing about Spanish. I kind of like stutter now after my accident, but I can understand a little bit. Like I did know about the red button. Like I guess she couldn't find it, the nurse said,
Mhm.
where you call the nurse. So, and I just told her, you need to just get it, press the button. You're going to be, yeah. So things like that were just
Wow.
weird. I don't know how to explain it.
I love this kind of stuff, Beverly. I love
I know you do. I'm glad
um
you do. And I'm glad I can talk to you about it because sometimes you just feel like, I don't, I kind of know why I had my near death experience, but yeah, there's definitely reasons for it. And it's
yeah.
kind of like a reboot for me. And, so.
Yeah. So tell us about your you being a community-based doula. Now, you were already a part-time doula, right? And I'm sure that this experience just made inform that even more. Like tell us about like when you okay, after the NDE, when you went back and you were able to stabilize, how it just informed what you do.
Absolutely. And what's so fun is it, this journey after my near death experience made me change a lot of habits, but also a lot of what I want in life. Not everybody else, because I would take care of everybody else, your mom, your grandma. And now it's about me and loving myself and doing what I want to do in my passion. So that was a big turnaround for me because my kids know me, like I would do anything for them. And so after it was about 6 months after my recovery. I was working at a college, and I've been there 25 years. And they laid off all the management, so the middle management. And they gave us the severance pay, so I was able to kind of hang out and do my thing at home. But with that, they gave us because it was an art school. They gave us classes that we could take, which for some reason I wanted to play the flute. I wanted to like do something with my hands that I've never done before. Um, and so they let me go, and I was so excited. I know, Loretta, when you lose your job, and it was during COVID, everybody was having such a hard time with it. For me, it was almost like, oh, I get to do what I want to do now.
It was like
So,
you could relax and see
yes,
your new abilities, right?
yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up taking ceramics. I got an Instagram. I was selling things. It was so bizarre. I would make stuff going, I don't know how I'm doing this, but it just felt so natural. And for me, that was a healing process. And then fast forward, my daughter was working with our agency, SBCC Thrive LA, and we came together. Well, she was working at that agency for a while, and probably in its inception for the doula community doula program. And she said, "Mom, what do you think about maybe doing, more work as a doula, like full time?" And I'm like, yes, please, because that's my calling. I know that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So they hired me, and I've been doing that ever since. And it's I pinch myself every time I can be with a parent or, with my doula sisters at our agency or just doing an event at our work. It is so different for me. I'm so in love with what I do. I don't call it work, Loretta.
Mm,
And I think
mm,
that's part of the lesson with my NDE because I feel like now things are just kind of flowing. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm so happy with my life.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy before, but yeah, I'm kind of giddy sometimes. So I have to calm down.
I love that. I love that. Oh, and tell us about your Reiki practice. I know that you told me, Beverly, that after your experience, you could connect and sense if
Mhm.
something was wrong with someone's body.
Exactly.
So I know I can just about imagine that as being a Reiki practitioner, you have even more intuition and connection with the person you're caring for. So tell us about your experience about that.
Sure. Well, we typically for me, I don't do too much private work like I used to,
Okay.
but ever since my experience, we've been doing a wellness fair, which has been really fun. And during that experience, what I've chosen to do is after the experience, I have, I tell them, what I felt, and then they'll tell me what they felt. But
Mm.
mainly during the actual session, and as I'm treating them, I for it's almost like an x-ray where you kind of see something in their body, or it's a knowing, or my hands will get really hot, or a feeling.
Wow.
So for instance, there was a young lady, very like 30 something, and very healthy, just really sweet, and as I'm working on her, I felt her knee, like her right knee, just very
Mm.
um, almost like a swirling kind of feeling, and my hands get really hot.
Mm.
So after our session, I told her what I experienced, because I like to say it first, just because I want them to see if I picked up on anything,
Right.
because it is very strong. And first of all, she said that she felt so relaxed, and that she saw a lot of colors during the session.
Yeah.
She went to a peaceful place, and if anybody, if they take a nap, that's what I want. It's relaxation with Reiki to me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what about your knee? What's going on with your knee? And she said, oh, how do you know about my knee? I injured it, not too long ago in soccer, and I haven't been able to play. And she wasn't limping coming in or anything. And I said, well, I think maybe you just need to take care of it more. So it's almost a knowing, but then it's an affirmation afterwards, where it's like, oh, okay, there's something to this. It could be maybe their shoulder, or just this knowing. And like I said, I either see like kind of an X-ray
Mhm.
vision, or I sense, by touching them, and it gets really warm. I mean, it gets so warm, Loretta, it's very bizarre. My hands start sweating when it's a area that I'm working on. Yeah, it's beautiful, but it is really picked up ever since my NDE, the feeling of that. So yeah, that's been
Yeah.
really fun.
I've heard that from Reiki practitioners,
Oh, have you? Oh,
that they have the warm feeling in the
yes,
hand, that energy. I love
yes.
it. I love it. I love it. So tell us, okay, I'm gonna go back to your doula experience.
Oh, sure.
What is a community-based doula, Beverly?
Absolutely.
How is that different
Oh,
from
sure.
another any other?
Than private doulas. Yeah, we're more about lived experiences. So for example, with me, I've had a lot of miscarriages, and usually I get assigned to women that it's really interesting. Recently I got assigned to a caseload that had the same condition that I had. So those lived experiences in our community, specifically women in our community, help to relate to them. It's more of a relationship, a connection. We also give them resources. We will do childbirth education. We'll also do lactation education, newborn care, technical or comfort measures, things like that. And we start at a very early time in their pregnancy. So say if some birthing individual, it really has a lot of anxiety, we
Mhm.
might start 30 weeks instead of 35, and
Mhm.
then we'll continually go on until their birth. And during that time, we're getting them counseling, we're resourcing them out to the community for anything they need. So say if somebody maybe lost their job and they need help getting financial, CalFresh or whatever, WIC, or anything that's going to benefit those families, we go one step beyond. With a private doula, they just help them during the birth. With us, we have so many resources at our agency. Afterwards, if they want to go to a Mommy and Me class called Preschool Without Walls, they're able to be connected with our family liaison. So it's a continuum, that relationship. If, they, maybe the partner needs help with, something, we have a Thriving Dads group. And it's just, for me, it's an ideal place to work as a doula, because
Mhm.
it's not, I mean, of course, it's about the pregnancy, but it's also about all those other things that happen in life, and sometimes we don't even talk about the pregnancy because they're more concerned about their mental health, or, their, their finances or things like that. So a community-based doula will be there to support them in other ways other than the birth, which is just in the postpartum stages. And majority of all my clients or participants, we call them, I've even gone on to having lunch with them afterwards, or gone to the park, or even babysat for them, because we're friends now. And yeah, so it's more of a relationship. besides giving them all that really great education. So, and
That is
support.
so, that is so beautiful, really.
Isn't it cool?
Having, yes, being a mother myself,
Mhm.
I often say that a woman giving birth to a child, whether they're married or not, can be the most isolating and lonely times of her life. I don't know, for some reason it can. It was like that for me. So to hear
Oh,
that you all continue that presence and support, and it's that's significant, and it's absolutely needed. It's not just about bringing the baby on here on, a healthy birth. So that's beautiful.
yeah.
It's
It takes a whole village. I don't, we've gotten away from our families. They've moved away. We don't have our sister and our grandmother nearby, and really, that's what a doula is. We're holding their hands and honoring their space during their birth, and it's really important to give them that support and making them feel confident, in what they're doing and their choices, and giving them all educational information that's all, um, you know, informed, information. So it's really, really important to be able to give them choices. And
that
yeah,
that's awesome. That's
yeah, I love it.
while visiting your website, I read the most profound statement. You stated that your intention as a doula is to facilitate self-discovery in others and to raise awareness of the consciousness of babies from preconception onwards. What does
Yeah.
that mean to you? Talk about that. Talk about that.
Oh, just treating our babies after they're born as respectful and just getting all their needs met, and really letting parents know that this little being that you have, there's a relationship you can start from day one by sticking your tongue out. They'll stick their tongue out. I mean, this
Yeah.
communication that you have with this child, it'll just, you know, continue on until the adulthood, and having that attachment and that bonding period and just being connected to that baby. Not all parents, I know sometimes they kind of check out, some people have postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But knowing that it's important to have those parents honor those children. And, there's developmental things. You can play games with them. I mean,
Yeah.
just honoring those little beings is so important, and giving them that first start, even doing story time with bath, or bath, doing like a routine, having a bath and then doing story time. And,
Yes.
it is, they do, they're very conscious. And I just don't think people give babies enough credit as far as them, you know, being communicative, and they do, and by crying, or smiling or cooing. Yeah, oh my God, that's my favorite thing. I think I love birth, but postpartum is probably my specialty, because I just love babies, holding them and just talking to them. I talk to them like I'm talking to you. Yeah. So that's what it
Beverly,
means.
listen, what you are describing is the fifth dimensional experience,
Oh,
child rearing. It really is.
all
Now
right.
is the time. I
Yes.
talk about
Okay.
this all the time. Now is the time to recognize our little ones as these high vibrational beings. They
Oh
really
yeah.
are. And we assume the same assumptions we make about nature,
Yes.
the same assumptions we make about animals, is
Yes.
that they are not as intelligent, right? As we are. But
Yeah.
that's what I thought that you meant by that statement. And just to hear you say it is so life affirming. That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Oh, that's so cool. I
I
love
love it.
I love that idea. And they're little souls too. And yeah, it's amazing how people think that they're not as intelligent. They are learning so much in the first 3 months. Their brains are on fire.
Yeah.
Like, their neurons are just kicking around. Oh, yeah, it's just so fascinating to me. And there's so much stuff out there that parents can read. And I do it in a way that's very simple for them, because it's a lot of information to give them. But
Yeah.
I think once you kind of tap into that with a parent, I come back to the appointments, they're like, so and so did this. I'm like, Oh, that's awesome. The discovery part. I love watching them discover stuff.
Mhm.
So,
You also stated, you say, I believe we can heal the world and manifest peace by changing the nature of
yeah,
modern birth practices. How, tell us about the practices that you all have that are different. That's exciting to me.
yeah,
Really is exciting to me because I've always, having, and you and I have talked about this, having experienced that process of, labor and delivery. I'm always interested in ways that we are evolving, right? In terms of how we care for that process. So tell us about
absolutely.
that.
Especially right now, Loretta. I mean, the immortality rate, especially of women of color, is just
Yeah,
horrific. And I think if everyone could have a doula for support, number one, it would, I, I know this word, we use it a lot, but it would empower the parents to make choices that would allow them, to be just conscious of their own births instead of the doc. I mean, thank goodness we have doctors and OBs, but just having them have those choices and giving them informed information that's educational and, proven, evidence-based information is really, really important.
yes.
For, for example, like a lot of women don't know this, and I know probably I think hospitals get mad at us for saying it
Speak
at
it,
doulas,
speak
but
it.
yeah, right. But if you're in labor and you have a specific hospital you want to go to, you by law you can go to any hospital if you're in labor. So say, for instance, there's a particular hospital in the area. I just it's not mama friendly, for the birthing parent,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
they just don't allow the parent to get out of bed, or they force them to do this or that. I let the parents know. I give them, information about um, this hospital does this. So if this is a hospital you want to stay with because you like your doctor, great.
Mm-hmm.
But this, you can go anywhere. And if you're in active labor, you can definitely have a baby um, at any hospital by law. And just giving them those choices, they're blown away, Loretta. You should see their face like, really? Simple stuff like that, if you want to keep your placenta, you just have to sign a form, have to make sure it's a healthy one, but just simple things like that, that are just yeah, it's important to give them the correct information, but also giving them choices that will help make their decision for their family the best. So
It's all of this conversation right here. Like I'm getting chills now. This conversation is so significant and it needs to be had
oh
more,
yes,
more and more. I'm so glad you talked about those things.
yes,
And I may not make friends right now, but I'm going to talk about some other things, even empowering the parents
mhm.
to make informed decisions in terms of the vaccines
Yeah, of
their
course,
babies are being given. I
it's
mean,
their
I
baby.
understand there's a vaccine that they want to give right at the hospital. It's
Hmm.
like just it's not about resisting. It's about, like you said, being informed,
Hmm.
researching, and being empowered
Hmm.
to
Yep.
say yes to that,
Hmm.
but no to this doesn't make any sense to me. No to that. But just
Hmm.
understanding that we have free will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, even for example, and yes, parents have the choice they have to learn about it and figure out what's best for their family.
Mm-hmm.
So I never, as a doula, I never get involved in yes or no with
Mm-hmm.
vaccines, just giving them the information, letting them know what the hospital will offer, or home birth, or, the birthing center. And then in addition to that, I don't know if you know this, but parents will ask a lot about, I know this is kind of getting off subject here, but I love
Bring it.
circumcisions. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
cosmetic, and it's fine, whatever the parents want to do. But now it's considered a cosmetic surgery, so you have to pay for it out of pocket, and a lot of parents don't know that now. So just letting them know that,
Yeah.
what what any kind of decision that they make, or any information they need, we give them informed, evidence-based informed information, which is so important. I think the main thing is for them is feeling confident with their midwife, doctor, getting a really good support team together, having a doula, and making the right choice for the right hospital for you. Maybe someone would like to go to that hospital I don't particularly care for, but all those things play a big role in what's going to be the outcome of their birth. So,
Yes,
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I have heard you say, and I'm not going to let this pass. I have to ask
Uh-oh.
you this. I've heard you say that something good comes from tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
I love that because we automatically judge an event, right, as bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but recognizing the gifts that these experiences come with, I think is important. So
Yes.
talk about that statement, which I
Oh,
love.
yes. And I feel that for everything in my life, from my childhood, which was not a very good childhood. It
Mhm,
made me a parent that is super empathetic,
mhm,
probably a little too lenient, um, to my near-death experience, where did a big turnaround, where I no longer work in an office sitting at a desk. I work with people that I love, and to serve. That's my whole thing. I really love serving and being able to help people. So yeah, I mean, it, it's amazing how it just turns around. Anything that you have had in your life, you may not know it at the time.
mhm.
It's a very traumatic thing, and you're trying to understand what happened, but there's always something that's positive that comes out of it. For example, all my miscarriages. I'm able to help other people through that experience. Not that it's a positive experience, but yet it was a very traumatic experience for me. And now also with the near death, just those type of things is really what I'm, speaking to. So,
Yes, I agree. And
yep, yep.
thank you for your service in that way.
Oh, thank you,
Um,
Loretta. You're so sweet.
I'm at church right now. Are you taking me to church really? And you're right. Those experiences, Beverly. Number one, we gain wisdom, right?
Yes,
And then so much compassion.
yes.
With you talking about the miscarriages, now as a doula, as a
Hmm.
friend, you know what I'm saying? It gives you
Yes.
so much more compassion
Yeah, absolutely.
for people
Yeah,
that
for
going.
sure. For sure.
Um, I know you were saying now you have found your true authentic self and that you say yes to everything,
Yeah,
which I think is awesome. So
I try to.
talk about how this experience has freed you, right?
Yes. So for me, just in general, I think the importance, what I've discovered as far as allowing fear not to dictate
Mm-hmm.
my life, but instead relying on love to guide me in my decisions. And I always, a lot of people don't pray, but I do. I always pray every day, night and day, like
Absolutely.
morning I did before this conversation. For me, that helps me. But
Yeah.
leading my heart with love instead of fear, because fear used to get in the way a lot. And embracing life's uncertainties is really important for me as well. And just finding, strength in yourself through the power of like your resilience with my accident. I've learned very much that that's a true aspect of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't take life for granted, Loretta, anymore. I really don't. I don't take life for granted. I believe in love and serving others. That's so important. And I truly believe in each human's life. It
Yeah.
has a purpose. We all have a purpose, and there is an afterlife. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. What projects do you have going on right now? Like, is there anything that you want? I'm going to ask you, and you can talk about this as well. If people wanted to contact you,
Oh,
what's the best way to contact you if you're open to it? And if you want to
absolutely.
talk about any projects, anything, any ways people can donate and contribute to this amazing field, and tell us about that.
Absolutely. Well, to donate, you can go on our website, which is SBCC Thrive LA, and there's a little tab down at the bottom that says donation. Just you would identify it as, community-based doula donation. So that would be lovely. Thank you for that. Because right now, one of our projects at our agency is we are the lead doula is created a community-based doula training where now doulas in our community will be able to be trained. We're all trainers, and she has organized, she's qualified our agency as a site now through Health Connect One, which is so amazing. They're going to come out and, just check our site out so that we can start paying it forward. And it's a 10-week program, so we are taking applications for that. But we'll be training women in the community to become community-based doulas. So that's number one. That's our first thing that we're doing through the agency. And yes, we would love donations because it does cost a lot of money to train. And the doulas will get all this for free. And in addition to that, we are training them to do medical billing because we're now, believe it or not, Loretta, we're getting recognized as doulas and we're getting paid not as much as we should. Yeah, but through Medicaid and Medi-Cal. So that's something they'll learn too. So that's a big project, and it's all new to us, but it's a new territory. But yeah, donating to that would be so amazing. And if you need a direct email for that, you can just email S Ketchum, KETCHUM at sbaycenter.com. She is a lead community-based doula, and her name is Celine. She's actually my daughter. Is that amazing? I work with her. So she is, yeah, I'm so proud of her. She's just done so much. So that's one of our main projects that we're doing right now through the agency. In addition to that, in April, actually, I think it's May because I do an orientation. I'm starting my lactation counseling, which I'm a community-based lactation educator, but I'm going up the step, which is great. And that I got that for free. I don't know, I asked for it and it came to me. So through an online college. So that's one of my projects. And then, so it's always about birth, but the things that are outside of birth for me right now is it's been on my mind to possibly write about my experience, but also coming from a child's perspective of not being allowed to be authentic in the spirit world. And I think that would be like a new kind of spin on it because I'm much older and I've had a lot of these experiences, and now I know what they are starting at a very young age. It is also in our family, my grandmother, my children are very much intuitive, and everybody has that. But that's one thing I would really like to do is to write some type of book about how children should be seen, and heard through that, and just guiding them, and also, just making it norm, making it a normal thing that this is very, very much in alignment with everybody's life. And so, yeah, that's one of my projects. What else? I think that's it for right now. Oh, and then the stillbirth. I'm working on that too to become a stillbirth doula. I've started. I have like 10 modules. I think I have 2 left. It's a long program, but it's a little intense. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Did you say you were gonna you want to write about your experience of not being? I'm telling you right now, Beverly, that urge that you have to do that, follow that.
Yes,
That is
I will.
significant.
Thank
It's
you.
significant. It's something I talk about a lot on this platform.
Oh, okay.
Stepping in a space where parents are able to validate their children when they see, grandma or grandpa who has transitioned or whatever, parenting in an enlightened way.
Yes.
Right? It's so very important. And so I applaud you.
Thank you.
And your desire to do that. It's needed. And let us know when that's done. I want to
I will.
again. Yeah,
I think it'll be fun because I know I would interview my grandchildren and my children, obviously, but I think for me, I felt very, I was Catholic, so I reached upon, praying, through the church, and I felt really comfortable in that. but I just didn't have an outlet for the other things that I experienced. And I think it would be important for children, but also, letting them know that there's nothing wrong with you. It's very normal to feel this way, and just guiding them in a way that would be really positive, because you just feel like something is so wrong with you when you're a child, and your parents tell you, knock it off. You're not. I don't know what you're talking about, but you do see and feel and hear these things. So
yes, yes, very important, very important, and many people say that. Is that, I learned a lot of things, in church.
Yeah.
But no one else could talk about these other experiences that I'm having. And so, yes. Let us know when you do that.
Oh, okay. I will.
So, Beverly, do you have
Yes.
any last words of wisdom for us before we close out?
Just for me, basically not taking life for granted, and just leading with your heart and love. I think that's the most important things. Embracing the uncertainty sometimes has really allowed me to find strength, and also just my experience, having strength and resilience through that, discovering all those things that you've gone through are going to make you who you are today. And leading with love. That's my man. I cannot say that enough. Leading with love is so important, coming from your heart.
Yes. So, Beverly, let me read you your closing remarks. And this has been a very rich experience, very rich experience. And there is so much to learn that you have shared with us. So, Beverly, I have heard more than once by non-physical, high vibrational beings that birth can actually be more stressful to the soul than the experience of death. Far too often, after passing through the birth canal, babies are met by harsh, bright lights, cold medical instruments, and a whirlwind of activity, offering a stark contrast from the warmth and calm that the soul originated from. Beverly, considering the vital work that you and your colleagues do in this field, it is no surprise that during your near-death experience, your guides told you that your work here is not yet done. The incredible presence, connection, attunement, and care that you greet every new soul with while entering this planet is holy work indeed. You, someone who has experienced and been reminded of the divine vibration of home, is now here to usher in the next generation of powerful beings, fresh from heaven. And as you stated on your website, I too believe we can heal the world and manifest peace by changing the nature of modern birth practices. And Beverly, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. We can heal the world by welcoming our bundles of joy with spiritual wisdom and presence. We can rear our little ones with the light of unconditional love and remembrance of that which we are. Thank you for your leadership in this industry. Thank you for your love and dedication to such divine work. I have often heard that highly evolved societies only allow the most wise and loving beings among them to teach the children. And such is the case with you. Such is the case with you. Thank you for agreeing to stay with us a little bit longer on this earth plane. And thank you so much for joining the show. It has been it's been all that I knew that it would be.
Oh,
It's been a pleasure having you on the show. We just are honored to have you here. Thank you.
thank you, Loretta. It was an honor to speak with you, and I hope we can continue our relationship. You're amazing, and the work you do, and the information that you spread is so important. So, thank you for
Thank
having me.
you.
And I love everything you said.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, happy Easter
Thank
and
you.
happy Sunday. I've been to church,
Oh,
and you have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Beverly, we close with the heart.
oh.
Yes, I love it. And thank you to everyone who joined us today, y'all.
Yes.
This video is worth listening to over and over again. If you have someone expecting or
Mm.
planning to, I just think it's so important to hear these words of wisdom and to be empowered as parents, right?
Yeah.
And please do contribute with the beautiful work that Beverly does. It's important. It's important to all of us, right? And so thank y'all so much. We love you.
Thank you, Loretta. I love you too.
Thank you, thank you. Until next time, y'all.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
You too.